Welcome to CNN 10. I'm Carl Azus. We are 3 weeks into the month of May, 2 weeks from the end of our spring broadcasting season, and 1 week from the Memorial Day holiday. And one question on the minds of many Americans as that 3-day weekend approaches is what's going to be open? This is how some U.S. beaches looked last year. The mayor of New York City says its beaches will look more like this on Memorial Day 2020. Swimming won't be allowed, lifeguards won't be around, but people will be able to walk along the beach. Elsewhere in the state, some beaches will be open with rules in place. One of the big ones being that they can only allow 50% of their usual crowds. New York has been the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak in America. One state south, New Jersey, says all of its beaches will be open to visitors. During a test run this past weekend in Ocean City, a loudspeaker reminded people every 15 minutes to keep their distance from each other when walking along the beach or the boardwalk. Beaches are open again in Georgia and some parts of Texas, though local areas may still have rules in place. In Florida, it really depends on where you go. Some beaches are shut down. Some are open to locals only. And on the other side of the country, beaches have reopened in Los Angeles County, California, but people have to stay at least 6 feet away from one another, wear masks whenever they're not in the water, and they're not allowed to sunbathe, picnic, ride bikes, or play organized sports. And in Washington state, beaches are still closed. States are trying to balance the desire of residents and businesses for things to get back to normal with the warnings of health officials who say reopening too soon could increase the spread of coronavirus. The different rules at American beaches are paralleled in the different rules for international travel.
This room key got me in the room, but it only works once. So once I'm in, I can't leave. I'm leaving Japan, heading back to Hong Kong, and I'm doing something that most people are not doing right now, which is traveling internationally. And then there's this compulsory quarantine order. What that means is that wherever I tell the government that I'm staying, I cannot leave that premises. I can't even step outside the door for 14 days. That's how strict Hong Kong is with this quarantine. I am now off my flight and heading to the location where we're all gonna get tested for coronavirus. Because we've arrived at a certain hour of the day, they can't process the tests today, so we'll have to overnight at another location afterwards, wait for our test results, and then if we test negative, then we'll begin our compulsory quarantine. This is an electronic wristband, you know, the kind that they use to monitor people who are under house arrest. But I have to wear this for the next 14 days because that's how the government's gonna track my location. I've been given this bag. This is my COVID-19 test that I'm gonna administer on myself. I'm gonna take a sample of my own saliva. And I'm now at my next stop, a hotel room provided by the Hong Kong government, where I will now sit and wait for a phone call on that phone, hopefully telling me that I tested negative, in which case then I can begin my compulsory 14-day quarantine. If I test positive or it's inconclusive, then I have to get an ambulance and go to the hospital. This room key got me in the room, but it only works once. So once I'm in, I can't leave. They just left breakfast outside my door. At least they're feeding us. Hello? Hi. Okay. What used to be a 5-hour trip before coronavirus now turned into a 21-hour trip, plus the next 2 weeks in home quarantine. But I'm grateful that I am home.
No doubt that watching movies could help pass the time. But when this is over, not just the quarantine, but coronavirus restrictions altogether, will people go back to movie theaters? A few things factor in. 1, movie theaters will need to be allowed to reopen first. 2, moviegoers will have to feel safe enough to return in large audiences, and they'll have to want to go back to theaters after getting in the habit of watching streaming movies at home. Drive-in theaters, which were popular in the 1950s and 60s, have seen a comeback, with people visiting them in this modern era of in-car social distancing. And while the future of theater buildings is uncertain, it does have hope.
With movie theaters across the country shuttered by the coronavirus pandemic, the trolls are streaming into people's homes.
The fight over trolls has raised the question, will we still go to the movies after the pandemic ends? The Trolls World Tour digital release, on the same day it was expected to hit theaters, was a huge success domestically. bringing in nearly $100 million in rental fees within weeks. Traditionally, studios and theater chains have agreed on a 75-day theatrical window before films go to digital. COVID-19 has challenged that model. As theaters around the world are closed, Universal put its films already playing in theaters on VOD within a matter of days. That meant you could rent The Invisible Man or The Hunt for $19.99 weeks, not months, after opening day. So, is this the future of the movies? Not so fast. The shortening or foregoing of the theatrical window has ruffled the feathers of theater owners. AMC, for example, announced that it would ban films made by Universal after the success of Trolls. It's likely that AMC and other chains would put up a big fight to keep the old model once theaters are allowed to reopen. And yes, studios still need movie theaters. Why? The big budget blockbuster. If Universal was all in on releasing its films on digital right away, then fans would be able to see F9, the latest installment of the Fast and Furious franchise, in their living rooms right now. But instead, the studio has pushed back the film's release almost an entire year. The production and marketing budgets of big blockbusters often stretch into the hundreds of millions of dollars. Clearly, a lot of money can be made via digital, but studios are unlikely to give up the potential of a billion-dollar haul at the box office. For example, potential Disney blockbusters Mulan and Black Widow are likely headed to theaters, while smaller films like Artemis Fowl and Hamilton are debuting on Disney+. What does this mean for the future of moviegoing? Well, it's unclear. Studios and theaters will likely continue to go back and forth figuring out the right amount of time a film can play in theaters before it plays in your living room. And audiences may see more lower-budget films going directly to digital. So there's definitely a future for more movies on demand, but that future most likely has more Trolls than Marvel superheroes.
10-second trivia. Which of these seasons runs from June 1st to November 30th? California wildfire season, Australia bushfire season, Atlantic hurricane season, or Plains tornado season? These disasters can generally occur at any time of the year, but June 1st through November 30th is officially the Atlantic hurricane season. Case in point, Tropical Storm Arthur, which formed this weekend off the coast of Florida. The system was classified as a tropical storm on Saturday night when its sustained wind speeds reached 39 miles per hour. Forecasters don't expect Arthur to make landfall as a major hurricane. It was over relatively cool water yesterday, which can keep tropical storms from intensifying, but it does have a chance to get stronger when it passes over the warmer waters of the Gulf Stream. Forecasters don't know where it's going to go. It could spin along the eastern seaboard and bring rain, wind, and rip currents up to the Carolinas. From there, Arthur might drift farther north and steer toward New York and New Jersey. It might just blow out to sea. Meteorologists say it's not unusual to see storms form before the official start of the hurricane season, but a number of organizations are predicting an active season ahead. The U.S. government's forecast comes out later this week. 10 out of 10? More like 1080. That's what Guy Curry, the 11-year-old skater you see here, recently did on a vert ramp. A 1080 is 3 full spins in the air. It's been done before off a mega ramp, which allows for higher speeds and more airtime, but it had never been documented on a vertical ramp until now. Guy's father says it helped that school is closed and that Guy has a ramp to practice on in his grandmother's garden. The new trick is truly a revolution. Or 3 of them. He's turned up the heat 180 degrees on Tony Hawk. There's nothing fakey, stale fishy, or skate boring about it. When you turn tail thrice without hitting the deck, you're gonna leave head spinning. I'm Carl Azus. Calgary Christian High School is watching today from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We'll see you tomorrow on CNN 1080.